we cannot, as a country, as a world, continue to consume with the thinking that we have resources in perpetuity when we don't. We live in a finite world, yet we're in a model of infinite consumption. How do you balance those two things? We push consumption. We push more and more. You have to consume more. You have to buy more. You have to buy bigger. Come on, guys. This is the driver of the economy. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, we're saying, well, stop doing that. Well, we have to do something about it because you're actually hurting the economy or hurting, future generations because of the fact that we pushed you to go in that direction, right? Kind of a contradictory. Like, how do we juggle those? Like I see a lot of, and for consumers, I see a lot of contradictions and like, okay, we have this problem, but we also want this. A little bit like, when you hear people get interviewed, I want to pay less taxes, but I want to have more government spending. and hold on, man. The two things don't really connect. Although yes, I want unicorns and rainbows, but there's the reality, and then there's actually there's fiction and there's reality. How do you sort of communicate that to people? How do you make them understand?
Je pense que c'est l'équilibre. Parce que l'endettement aide l'économie. Parce que ça veut dire que les gens dépensent. Mais le surendettement, ça crée un risque. Right? So where do you find that balance? Je vais donner un exemple. La popularité dans les émissions de rénovation. Okay? Ça fait en sorte que les gens ne tolèrent plus une vieille cuisine. Ils ne tolèrent plus une vieille salle de bain. Right? Fait que même s'ils n'ont pas l'argent pour rénover la cuisine, qui est aujourd'hui minimum 50 000 $ de rénovation, ils ont vu l'émission, ils veulent la nouvelle cuisine, ils vont s'endetter pour avoir la nouvelle cuisine.
Consommation, encore une fois, consommation.
Fait que c'est trouver, je pense, Ryan, c'est trouver l'équilibre, c'est ça qui est touché.
Ouais, je pense qu'on parle souvent de ça, Paul.
I still think the problem can be solved only really with supply. Like everybody's prices are going up, whether you're buying or whether you're renting, because the underlying value of the property is going up. If we added more supply, even to the point where we were able to curb the appreciation of property today, that also would make rents stall a little bit because the two are very much correlated. Without adding supply, really, we're not helping anybody. The folks that are really quite rich are taking equity out of their already quite large property portfolios to leverage to purchase more. That excludes would-be purchasers and requires them to rent from folks building portfolios. We are very much creating a bit of a feedback loop, the old sort of rich get richer kind of a structure, quite specifically because we're constraining the supply. And it's the appreciation because of the demand that's driving not only the price but also the rent increases that we're seeing across the country.
Sort of a debt echo chamber, just bouncing off the walls and not
keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. So let me throw in another curveball, which is which is very pertinent. It's in the public forum right now. It's obviously a hot topic. We just had a conference, a global conference on it, and that's climate change. And they say, well, why are you going to talk about climate change with debt? Well, you're talking about supply, right? Mm-hmm. So in French, on dit l'étalement urbain, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what l'étalement urbain is in English.
Urban sprawl.
Urban spread or sprawl.
Sprawl, yeah.
And so, we talk about supply, we talk about new starts. Let's go, let's build, let's do permits. And on the other side, saying, well, wait, we can't do that because it's spreading outward. We're destroying wetlands. We're destroying forests. So on top of the fact that we need to create supply in a new way. We need to create supply in a way and then we get into the climate discussion, right? In a way that perhaps would allow for some sort of balance on the climate side. I mean, here in Montreal, if you just look at the in the North Shore and the building further and further out, the infrastructure can't hold that many houses that far away from the city. We're seeing more and more people getting called back to work, not completely, but 1 or 2 days. And so you can even notice that on the road. You'll go one day to work, it's 30 minutes to get there, and the next day it's 2.5 hours. What happened? Oh, that's the day that everybody decided to go into work. And it wouldn't be 2.5 hours pre-pandemic. It was an hour and a half. So we've added 1 entire hour, which means that the réseau or the infrastructure can't manage it. That's more cost in infrastructure, more taxes. We don't want taxes. Again, we're in this sort of feedback loop. So when you talk about supply, how do you balance more supply with the real problem that we cannot, as a country, as a world, continue to consume with the thinking that we have resources in perpetuity when we don't. We live in a finite world, yet we're in a model of infinite consumption. How do you balance those two things? No pressure.
I think we just very simply need to develop a perpetual motion machine, and then we'll have unlimited energy, and then we won't have any problems anymore.
So science is the answer. Science is the answer.
I saw it a little bit tongue in cheek, but I actually do believe that's the case. I don't think urban sprawl is going to be as demonized in the future as it has been currently, quite specifically because everybody's been working remotely for the last 24 months at this point, and economies haven't tanked. There's definitely been segments of the economy that have been based upon communities getting together. Travel, tourism, restaurants, hospitality have been really quite decimated. But if we have urban sprawl, you're still going to end up with communities in small pockets that you didn't used to take the train all the way into the city to go to a pub. If you wanted to drink on a Wednesday night anyway, you would go to your local. And so I really do think that I'm not an expert on climate. I wish I knew a little bit more about exactly how we're consuming energy. Certainly the amount of power that a lot of the server farms that are consuming for the provision of things like Zoom and Google, Amazon, the big brands that we're resting on, it's not as eco-friendly as people might believe. I think we just don't see the consumption of power, so we don't think about it that much.
Or
I belong to Amazon's Prime, and they deliver things for free. So when I consider even just the energy and the recycling of the cardboard boxes that show up to my house now for small things, I've actually stopped using it. I find I'd rather just wait to go to the store and pick something up because I probably am less energy consumptive if I'm doing it that way. But I think we will end up with communities that are a little bit further afield, and we won't need to be commuting into the city nearly as much in future. I agree. If everybody's coming on a Tuesday, it's not very clever. We can definitely do a better job of logistics, but we're growing out of the situation that we found ourselves in. So I think it'll be a little bit iterative. I think businesses themselves will actually spend a little bit of time trying to right size their process and their staffing. And there's no substitute for getting together in person. We could very easily have conducted this via Zoom, but it wouldn't have anything like the same feel.
Human beings are human beings, right?
Absolutely. We're a social animal. But that doesn't mean that I necessarily have to meet the same 15 people every single day to work. I definitely can be in a remote community and have far less individual interaction with particular team members. I'm sure we'll get there. If we actually do avoid the environmentally protected places, the green spaces that every province has got marked out, there's still enough land for us to build infrastructure for additional homes. We also just need to build our economy to allow that can happen without the need for a 3-hour commute 5 days a week.
Right. Max, what do you think? What about and obviously chime in on that. You say I'm wearing a blue shirt. It says inconcevable. Is this a problem that's inconceivable? Can we not? Is there a solution there, or what? And also, I'd like you to obviously talk to what Paul said, but also mention, is a solution maybe for communities to think about building vertically and not horizontally? Because right now real estate is very horizontal. At least here, we're building out. People want, I didn't really mention that when you answered, but people want bigger lands, and so bigger lands require, it means you got to build bigger pockets of homes. Maybe micro homes is starting to get there, but again, people want bigger because consumption is pushing them to get bigger. That big kitchen, my wife tells me all the time, I'm sorry, honey, sorry about that. I need space in my kitchen. Do you? So, and I will be sleeping on the couch for the next week. But the point being, what do you think? What's your take on all that?
Je pense, oui, il y a encore du travail à faire, mais je vois certains développements à usage mixte. Tu sais, avant, là, c'était des banlieues. C'était maison cookie cutter, modèle ABC, ABC, ABC. Là, on va voir des maisons jumelées, ce qu'on appelle des executive townhomes en anglais, que ça a l'air d'une maison, mais vraiment, il y a comme 3-4 unités là-dedans en condo. Et dans le même complexe, tu vas même avoir un immeuble à condo à peut-être 10 étages. Fait que ça l'aide pour la densité, mais ça l'offre aussi la valeur ajoutée de l'espace pour ceux qui en veulent. On voit aussi des immeubles à condo avec du commercial au rez-de-chaussée, donc usage mixte. Donc on peut avoir des petits commerces. Comme Paul dit, tu n'es pas obligé de conduire 20 minutes pour aller prendre ta bière au pub. Peut-être que le pub est en bas. Fait que je trouve que ça, c'est quand même une bonne chose. Aussi, on voit des développements au niveau des matériaux. éco-énergétiques, des programmes gouvernementaux. Je ne suis pas un expert du tout là-dedans, mais on voit les dossiers rentrer et les gens, les consommateurs, quand ils font des rénovations, ils veulent des matériaux éco-énergiques. Et le gouvernement encourage des choses comme ça. Puis quand on voit comment la technologie avance rapidement, on se dit, les fenêtres qui sont efficaces aujourd'hui, ils vont peut-être être désuets dans 10 ans, puis dans 10 ans, ils vont avoir encore un meilleur produit. Fait que, moi, je suis un gars optimiste, OK? I have hope. J'aime ça regarder les avancements puis le côté positif des choses. C'est pas tout rose, ça je comprends, il faut en être conscient, mais c'est des conversations comme ça qui font en sorte qu'on va pousser la note pour avoir l'amélioration.
Donc, selon toi, c'est concevable qu'on va trouver une solution?
Moi, je trouve que c'est très concevable. Oh, et puis, c'est plus... on recule 25 ans, c'était tabou de parler du climate change, là. C'était tabou de parler de le réchauffement de la planète, là. C'est indéniable. Tout le monde, pas tout le monde est d'accord, mais la plupart des gens sont d'accord. Et notre génération, on est prêt à faire des gestes concrets. On regarde aussi les avancements au niveau des autos électriques, de plus en plus affordable, des bornes de plus en plus fréquentes. Moi, je pense que dans notre vie, on ne verra plus des autos à essence. Donc, un gros pas dans la bonne direction. Et ça vient contrer l'étalement urbain ou l'impact environnemental de l'étalement urbain. Si on ne consomme pas d'essence, on ne brûle pas d'essence pour aller au travail, ça va aider la chose, là. Donc, je suis un optimiste, mais il y a encore du travail à faire, effectivement.